pilgrimage today, and I'm going to go to a place I'm nicknaming Tosa, God Town, in Wauwatosa, Wisconsin, which is in the west of Milwaukee County. I'm calling it God Town because there's a bunch of different religious sites. I wanted to go to the VCY Bookstore first. I've wanted to go there for a really long time. Finally going over there, but looking at the map, there's just a lot of interesting organizations, religious organizations of different varieties, not just Christian, but there's like an Ismaili spot, supposedly, even though it just looks like a residence, and some other things. So I'm gonna get the bus now. There are some more standard seeming denominations in Tosa God Town. I don't know if I want to call it Tosa God Town or the Tosa Spirit World. What's cooler? I don't know. But there's Lutheran and Catholic things, which is what I'm talking about, seemingly standard. Just a lot there. Who knows? One of them could be odd or particularly charismatic or have like a mystical cult in its foundation that makes it different from the rest. But some of the most different denominations there's this Ismaili community center, supposedly. VCY Bookstore is set apart, Ismaili community center. There's also Black Pentecostal, which there's probably a bunch of those, but I've never been to a Black Pentecostal church. And I don't know if a Black Pentecostal church is fundamentally different from other Pentecostal churches, but it's probably not in Spanish, is what I'm saying, and that's what I have experience with so far. There's also a Church of God, and there's at least one other thing. At least one other thing that seems really different. This is my hometown, but I seriously feel like a tourist because I'm looking at places that I don't know these neighborhoods, despite living here for the better part of my life. Way more than the better part of my life. More than 30 years. I missed the bus, so I've gotta stop taking video of my face, start paying attention to the real world. That's going to be a big challenge for this project because in recording my music, I spend so much time paying attention to myself, and this has to transcend that, or it's not really doing what anybody needs it to do, I think.
Street. Stop requested. 127th Street. Red line. Capitol and 35th Street. Transfer to Route 35.
Something like that, you can do right away. I'll take the whole day, the whole day, right away.
Found some unmapped locations here on Capitol and Sherman. And also some map locations that are not active, like the Lion of Judah Worship Church. I'm pretty sure that was boarded up. Here's one kind of denomination I see, and it reminds me of the opposite of a new religious movement. It seems like an old religious movement or something that's really established, and I don't want to leave things like that out, but and I really don't know what is actually what kind of footage has actually been taken in Milwaukee of what religious groups or anything, but I feel like de-emphasizing things that religious movements that seem really well established and focusing on ones that are odd. But it's interesting to me that the little free libraries over here by this Lutheran church have food, literal food instead of food for thought, how most of the other ones do. A man just asked me for bus fare. Please give me your bus fare, he said. White dude. And I told him I didn't have any money, and now I'm thinking about how that's true. The only thing I have is this QR code to get on the bus. So I have my own bus fare that was paid in advance. But I don't even know if I could transfer or give him a bus fare if I wanted to. I suppose if I argued, I could really get that guy on the bus somehow. You can still use cash on the bus. I don't have it, and one reason is because I don't have a lot of money right now. But also is because I don't keep a lot of that money close to myself, and also the more I get involved in fintech, the more money is really abstract and nothing is physical money. Okay, there's VCY Bookstore. Stupid way. Okay, VCY Bookstore. I've wanted to come here for a very long time. WVCY is a Christian radio station and television station here in Milwaukee that I watched since I was a little kid. And I'm interested to see who owns it. It's not open for another 2 minutes, so I'm just going to walk around the perimeter. I think I got here at a good time. It's starting to get white over here because it's Wauwatosa. Across the street is the Pine Lawn Memorial Park Cemetery. It's not open yet?
Is anything, or are you?
I was gonna say, I've been meaning to stop in here for like 20 years.
Okay.
And I just never have. I don't live very close to here.
Okay.
But I grew up watching VCY.
Okay.
Like I remember like watching it in the late 90s when I was probably
Okay.
like 10 or something.
Yeah.
And one thing I'm interested in is like how long have you been around VCY, for example?
26 years.
26 years. Okay, so then I can ask you this and you'll know. Doctrinal changes within the direction of VCY. Do you think VCY has stayed basically the same?
Same.
The same?
Yeah.
Interesting.
They haven't changed at all.
Wild.
Haven't changed at all. I mean that's one of the things over the years. If you wanted to use the word, would be consistent.
Okay.
They haven't wavered at all, and have stuck with their mission and with their perspective on things, and that has been no question as long as I've been here.
Okay. Has the ownership been the same?
The person that started the ministry was in the 1950s.
Okay.
He passed away. He was close to 80 years old, and he was a part of it all the time until he died. And he died about 6, maybe 7 years ago. And the person that was working with him together for 30 years took over.
Okay.
So the transition was seamless because it wasn't somebody they pulled in from outside or somebody new. It was somebody that was right in line with what was going on, and so that's why it was seamless, and I think that's why the consistency.
Okay.
So there's been 2 in, what is that, 60 years?
Wow.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember, like I'm wondering which authors have stayed, how can I say it?
Probably Charles Stanley.
Yeah, I would say like, which authors have stayed the most resonant with VCY? So Stanley has been around.
Charles Stanley.
Yeah.
Erwin Lutzer. John MacArthur. Tony Evans has. Michael Youssef.
Okay.
It's kind of off the top of my head.
Okay.
Those are the ones that have stuck with them for decades.
Yeah. I see some Ken Ham here.
Oh, Ken Ham, yeah. That's another one for probably, ever since Ken Ham ministry started.
Okay.
And his ministry didn't start back in the 50s, but I think he was starting to put his ministry together in the 60s and 70s.
Okay.
But ever since that his ministry started, VCY was connected with him.
How old is he?
Ken Ham?
Yeah, it doesn't seem like he could
I would
have.
say he's in his 70s.
It must be
In fact,
interesting.
I could tell you, I had that written down. I had it written down here once, and he's about 72.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember watching, if you have to help her out
I
there,
remember watching.
Ken Ham and Ken Hovind growing up. And I don't
Oh,
like,
yeah.
And I feel like Ken Hovind maybe is not within the...
He had his problems. Let's just put it that way. And he pretty much got himself into trouble because he challenged the government.
Yeah.
And when you challenge the government, especially in a tax situation, they're going to come after you, and he ends up in prison. So, but Ken Ham hasn't, gone that direction.
No.
But he's been sound, and he's been consistent too. So.
Do you remember a series called The Pagan Invasion?
Oh yes. Oh my goodness. Oh. Now that had to be. I'll bet you that was 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Oh yes, I remember it very well. Yeah. Yes. That was for quite a while, and I mean we carried it and everything, and that's something that, well, I don't know where you'd get something like that now.
Yeah, there's some on YouTube that people like find on VHS, and they put them up, quite a few episodes.
Oh, is that right? Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
It was by like a production company called Jeremiah Films.
Yeah, I remember that name.
I think Florida.
I remember that name. Yeah. Yeah.
I was really influenced by that growing up, and I think it led me to a lot of...
Wow, you bring back memories on that. Oh my goodness, yes.
I'm wondering if there's any... I produce the media, and I'd like to get into more topics like that, and I remember a lot of the ones that I saw like 20 years ago, like Pagan Invasion.
Yeah.
And the one thing about Pagan Invasion was like, it not only showed behind the scenes pagan things and like real interviews with a good Christian message and doctrine, but there was like video game simulations in there from the early 90s, and they had like this, the castle and the guitar theme. It's just like all over interesting media.
I know. I mean, that was state of the art at the time. It's something really, really challenging as far as that whole issue. And golly, I think that came in like, and now I can't remember anymore, but it was multiple VHSs or whatever. I don't know if it was 8 or 10 or whatever.
An explosive new 13-part video series.
It was you could get it in a set or you could get individuals. And I remember that very well.
Cool.
Wow. Yeah. Bringing back a lot of the, when I look back, because I got here in like 97, and even things back then, one of the biggest crazes back then was Jerry Jenkins' Left Behind series.
Okay, yeah.
And he would write them, and about every year he'd come out with another one, and I mean, people were in line when it was ready. They knew the day it would be released, and the street date, as they call it, and we had people in line waiting for it, and that I've never seen anything like that since. I mean, that was, and I think he had something like 6, 7, 8 books that came out in that, and that was amazing. And we'd sell hundreds of each one,
Interesting.
and nothing like that have I seen since then. But yeah, when I start digging back in my memory, a lot of things you forget, or you don't, it's nothing you even think about again. But there was just a lot of things different back then than there is really now, So, but like you said, what's interesting, not that we could get it, but you just about can get anything, you know, from the past somewhere.
Yeah.
You know, and so that's interesting too. We put out a week ago or so. We put out some VHSs from Tony Evans' messages,
Okay.
and you know, the guy I worked with, I said, is anybody gonna pick these up? Sure enough.
Really?
Yes.
On VHS?
Yeah, VHS, and
Wow.
apparently they still had somewhere their VCRs, you know? So, it's just kind of funny, but, and some of that kind of, even the cassette tapes and stuff. I still have people asking for cassette tapes.
Interesting.
Call up, say, do you have cassette tapes on it? I said, cassette tapes? You talking cassette tapes? Yeah, cassette tapes. I have no idea where to get that.
Yeah.
But it is interesting. Things have changed so much over those years, you know.
How is the stock selected here?
We stick with the ministry, what the radio and TV ministry is. So when we were talking about the people we were talking about, that's the authors we carry. And there's other auxiliary, I call it auxiliary authors, that connect with those authors and are like-minded, and we'll carry some of those.
Okay.
And then we mostly, you know, try to focus on a lot of the reference books, whether it's Bible dictionaries, concordances, Bible handbooks, commentaries, you know, all that type of thing. So, and that's how we actually built the store, more for people that are more serious-minded.
Yeah.
We don't have a lot of, I don't know what the word would be. We don't have a lot of fluffy stuff. It's you know, serious Bible study and those authors left devotionals and that type of thing, things on prayer. So it's really focused around that. There is a lot of things that we don't carry that would really sell well, but that's not who we are.
Okay.
And so we know who we are, people know who we are,
Yeah.
and we build within that framework. So that's kind of how it's developed.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just got out of VCY Bookstore. I bought 4 books from the discount $1 bin, and one of them I got just because it's a huge book. Another one I got because it's a picture book. I was looking through books and there's like all this text, and I'm just like, I know I talk and read a lot, but I don't know if I can stay in a book that long, but I bought it anyway. Here's a different church, Campbell. Holy shit. Campbell Family Life Center. I don't know if this place is open or what the fuck. My travel budget for this trip was $10, and I'm pretty sure I just spent it all, or at least $9, on those books and some Red Bull to keep going. There's a lot more in Tosa, Godtown, a lot more locations that I put on the map. I think the reason why I want to get a different camera and a selfie stick so you can actually see around me and not just me. There are a lot more locations if I go back the other way on the Red Line bus. I'm getting tired, but I just downed this one Red Bull. Okay, now I downed it. I've got another one. It's 2 hours and I'm fucking tired. I'm gonna try to go to Beth Messiah, which is a Messianic Jewish community pretty close to VCY Bookstore. I just got a voicemail from the Interfaith, what's it called? Interfaith Conference of Greater Wisconsin. And he said, "Hi, Dandon, thanks for registering for this meal at the end of the month. There's an interfaith meal." And he said, "Your last name didn't come through. I don't know how to pronounce it or something. Also, the religion you put down, which is Wauwatosa, didn't come through either. And he needs to put me into a specific category. So I'm going to have to tell him something." 11:11 on the clock. I got off the bus at the wrong spot. Anyway, I talked to that guy on the phone from the interfaith congregation, and he knows I'm Wauwatosa, and he also knows that I'm interested in moderating an event. I want to know what that means, but actually that sounds really interesting to me, because if I can't moderate an interfaith event, who can? Grace Christian Fellowship, Bet Messiah. Okay, they're not open, but check this out. By entering this area, you're granting to Grace Christian Fellowship and or Bet Messiah of Milwaukee right to photograph you and record your voice and use your likeness, actions, and voice in any and all recordings made by us. I need something like that to put on me, like right here, if I'm going to keep documenting like this. That reminds me of something that I saw in a Masonic Lodge, Lake Lodge in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, one time. And I went in there and a very similar sign was on the door, and they were actually filming there for a documentary that I was a part of for a little bit before my music was cut out. Alright, so what was the not-so-secret purpose of Secret Purpose? Religious travel and tourism and religious exploration within Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and then moving beyond all over the world. I think that was it. I think it's been a pretty successful trip today. I didn't hit everything in Tosa, Town, but it's also not Sunday, and a lot of these places are only going to be open on Sunday, and I wish I had the powers that Padre Pio did, where you could be more than one place at one time, because now that I am visiting places on Sundays, there's like, I wish I could be like at 15 or 20 of them on a Sunday, and I can only be at one unless they're close and have services that are a few hours apart. Maybe I could go to multiple ones. I don't know what I'm going to be doing on Sunday. I asked the man at VCY Bookstore about Moody Church, which is a place I'm interested in going to in Chicago. So maybe I'll go to Chicago this weekend. I don't know if it's going to be that early. My next trip is Chicago is one of my next trips, and then interfaith meeting next Wednesday. on not the north side of Milwaukee, but the east side of Milwaukee, the northeast side of Milwaukee. That's Wednesday. Yeah, and I was asked about being a moderator there. So thinking about what that would be, that seems like a very interesting opportunity. I'm looking for paid work in doing this sort of thing. Volunteering is cool. I volunteered a lot of my life, and I've really impoverished myself doing it. But in the process, I've learned a lot about religions, big time. And now I'm looking for something a little more stable, because I almost want to say, aren't we all? But I didn't used to be. And now it's like, well, I want that. I think that would be good for everybody if I was a little more stable. But here I sit in a bus stop waiting to go back, take the 80 back to Cineris Pinecone Urban Outreach Center. And I consider this a successful trip. Just a few hours. If I don't spend any more money, I was within my budget of $10. And if this is really the conclusion, then more to come.